Rowan, obviously, Harry Newman's taken quite a few people by surprise in the 21. Just give us an insight into his possible return and whether you were always confident they'd play a part this year.
I wasn't when the injury first occurred, but the progress, diligence and sort of expertise that's gone into this rehab has accelerated things to a point where there's some chance of playing on Friday.
Some chance?
Yeah, that's all it is at this point. Some chance, yep. Last week he was no chance and now he's some chance. So,
how much of a boost would it be if he did manage to get out on the pitch on Friday?
Oh, it'd clearly be a boost and another threat to the opposition. You know, they'll you know, have one of the most dangerous players in Super League to have to contend with if he does get himself out there.
What's the situation with Ash then? Obviously, he's not made the 21.
He's got a fracture of the 5th metatarsal, and it's apparently in a spot that's not too bad as far as fractures go. He'll be a couple of weeks. If we can keep the season alive, then you know, he may yet play for the Rhinos yet this year.
If you reach the grand final.
Yeah, most likely that'll be his week. Yep.
What about other changes that you might be pondering? Is there anything that's giving you a bit of a headache this week?
No, not really. We've got a settled spine. Our big guys have got plenty of work under their belt and come through pretty well. It's just that outside back contingent at the moment. It's been a bit of a tough one.
Rhys Martin's absence obviously has made headlines. How disappointed were you with the charge in the first place?
The charge itself, I'm not really sure if that's the type of, you know, tackle that's actually an issue in our game. I think it's an accident. I do think Rhys was taking some care in the way he went about it. It was, you know, a falling player and a glancing touch, really. To me, the more concerning part, or the thing that, you know, sounds like it's going to have a conversation at the end of the season, is the process around it all. You know, you're essentially guilty until you're found guiltier if you decide to appeal. And you know, that process in itself around, we're still on Teams online call to show footage that doesn't have the ability to go frame by frame. You can't see it with real clarity. You know, it's a little vague at times. You know, I'm not sure why we aren't in person, you know, face to face, looking at the same screen in the same, you know, technology that we have available. That would make you know, the process a little clearer.
How tough to take was it then to get an extra game?
It was difficult for sure. Yeah, we had a 30-minute sort of conversation, basically led by the judge who probed and challenged and asked questions, and we had you know, a detailed analysis of the tackle itself, of a comparison clip that, although wasn't the same style of tackle, it was ranked as a caution, which we deemed, you know, we thought it had more force applied. And then the other part of it that the RFL used was a James Roby tackle from earlier in the season, which we analysed closely as well, and were able to provide some reasons why it was different, and it wasn't, in our eyes, as significant as that tackle. We thought, yeah, the tackle would have been, yeah, we thought there was a fair conversation as it was led by the judge. So I'm not quite sure the definition of frivolous seems different to the definition that I've you know, had from legal people. but how it's being used in the RFL seems different.
The fact that Alex Mellor came out and said, in his opinion, it wasn't a penalty, let alone a ban, did that have any sway at all? Was that used in mitigation?
No, it wasn't. Previously over the years, I know that people don't, judiciaries don't want to hear about their mates saying, "Don't suspend my mate," kind of approach. But I appreciate Alex saying that. It was a glancing touch that was. There was no swinging arm, there was no intent. You can see the players around the incident didn't react. Ben Thaler, he'd be among the most experienced referees in the game, I would imagine, and he had a video ref in his ear too if he needed it. They didn't find a penalty, they didn't find a yellow card. And then on Sunday at the Super League playoff launch, and it never got a mention by another coach, a journalist. So it's just really hard to know, and I'm sure the other coaches are in the same bank. They're waiting to see what they might find on a Monday.
Who's going to be the designated goal kicker then on Friday?
Oh, they were having a tournament there after training to see who was going to get there's a fair few that fancy themselves, certainly at training, but it's a different story when the pressure's on. Zach struck the ball really nicely when Rhys missed that other game also not too long ago. Zach struck the ball well, and he's an experienced Super League goal kicker. Aidan Caesar's been a quality 80% goal kicker over his career. Then there's a few other part-timers that'll throw their hat in the ring too if needed.
Let's move on to the game. The third time in 6 weeks that you're flying out to Perpignan. The stakes are higher than ever in this game. What sort of challenge do you face on Friday, Rohan?
Oh, a huge one. Huge one. We're going to their patch in their conditions. They'll have the flares and the drums and the horns and all that stuff going before the game, I'd imagine. They're an experienced team across the board, big in the middle, smart through their spine, very experienced, good with ball in hand, kicking, passing, those guys. And they've got some outside backs that finish well and carry the ball in yardage. So you'd have to say they're a fairly complete team, and they know how to play at this time of year. So it's going to be a massive challenge, massive opportunity.
Does it help in a way that you've seen them at close quarters so often in the last 5 or 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think there's a level of familiarity between the two. They know what's coming, and we know what's coming, I guess. There may be a few things that they have kept up their sleeve for this type of day, but we'll have to do our best to combat what they've got. Tomkins didn't play last time, so that'll obviously make a huge difference to how they play. And we weren't anywhere near the mark last time, but new competition now, and that's not really relevant to us.
How's Rhys doing? Because she said he was left devastated by last month's ban.
Rhys is a very mature, super respected, caring kind of guy, and he's gone about it like a real pro. He's gutted. Clearly, he's only missed one game from that previous suspension, and he missed 2 games to go home earlier in the year for the funeral of his father. So, he's invested so much into this season. To have to miss this game is a tough one. But Rhys he's a great guy. He's around the boys today. He's at training, and he's helping and getting around it. It's credit to him that he's all about the team and what he can do to help us prepare.
Do you feel for him? Because like you say, he's worked so hard and he's contributed so much as well, hasn't he, this year?
Yeah, I do. I've known Rhys a long time, and I've only ever known him to play the game in the right spirit. He's a great man off the field, great teammate. So I do feel for him, but our focus is on who is playing and trying to keep his season alive.
Yeah, can this kind of thing galvanise a group?
Oh, it may be, but it'd be one of the other 20 or 50 things that these blokes have had to deal with this year that, it's just another bump in the road, which all clubs have at various points. So we've been playing in a connected way. We just got to keep that approach and play together and see how long we can keep it close for.
What does Harry have to do between now and Friday to make it?
He's got some difficult testing to get through. So, there's there's some chance he's a motivated character, and he likes to fill himself full of optimism and positivity. So that's a large part of the reason why we've opted to include him in the 21, because of his positivity towards the situation. But let's see if it's the same from the physio and the performance staff.
Would he have to be 100% or very close to it? You won't throw him in at 75, 80%?
He'll have to pass all the measures. Like he won't half pass. He'll either pass the testing or he won't. So that'll be it. We'll have to wait and see.
And it's not one of those where you go with the player's gut feeling, because, like you say, he's desperate to play and he'd play every week if he goes.
He would have played last week if we went with his gut feeling. So no, that his gut feeling, his willingness to apply himself to his rehab has been extremely commendable, and he's all in for the Rhinos. That's what he is. He's a good kid, and we'll see.
Is this week about clicking in an attacking sense, because you've been digging in and doing well defensively, but perhaps haven't shown as much in that attacking sense?
Yeah, we need to put the whole package together. We're playing against a veteran team that know how to play, and they're on their home turf. And with Tomkins back, influencing the game and taking control, they'll be at their best. So we'll need to be very good on both sides of the ball and in transition to threaten them. I'd say we're going to have to be good in all aspects.
Any concerns over the surface there? It looks to be cut up pretty badly in recent games. What's it like when you're actually there?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I'm not an expert on grass, but I did ask the question whether it had been raining after the game, like during the week, whether it had been raining and it was a bit soft underfoot, but it hadn't at that stage. I believe they've had some thunderstorms and stuff in the last week or two since we've been there, but yeah, I'm not too sure about the grass.
You said earlier it sounds like there's going to be some conversations around the process of the disciplinary panel. Are you envisaging some major changes to happen through the off-season? I mean, and if so, what are you hoping for? Is it just a case of getting it all done back in person, or does more need to be changed than that, do you think?
I've probably said most of the things I wanted to say about that last night's situation. Clearly, the RFL's undergoing massive changes of staffing personnel. I believe that a few high-ranked people are moving on. So, with that comes change and review. And you'd imagine, based on the amount of talk around the match review process this year, that there would be, a conversation or some official review done.
Okay, I'll leave it there. In terms of the game itself, obviously Tomkins coming back is massive. For those of us who maybe don't study the game as much, what does he give a side compared to what they don't have perhaps when he's not in the team? Because he's obviously very important to them.
Yeah, he is. He knows where to be. He's got that sixth sense from all the experience in big games, and he's been one of the best players of probably Super League era, I'd imagine. Certainly what I've seen of Super League, he's been right up there with the best players in the game for a long period. He's good with ball in hand. He can create things for other people. His running game, he's still there when he needs it, and he's kicking is good. He organises his defensive line well. He's a calming influence, and he also has an influence on the officials at times as well, I'd reckon.
What are the options without Ash? Obviously, Zach went out there last week, didn't he? Is he the most likely just to slot in on the wing, or have you got some other options?
Liam Tyndall will play on the wing, where we've got Fussatua and Handley and who else we got missing? Simpson, probably Newman. We've got a bunch of outside backs not available, so there's not a lot of choices there. And Rhys could have played centre if he was available. So no, Zach will be back at centre, which is where he's played a lot of great footy for us this year.
Are you anywhere near a decision on Zach? Obviously, I think he spoke of his desire to stay. Has any conversations been held yet?
There's been lots of conversations held. One about 5 minutes ago with Zach, updating him about what I know of the situation, and we hope that we can get something worked out. But there's some time constraints that we're going to have to be patient with.
very briefly, just wondered how the players have seemed this week in training physically and mentally. Obviously, it's been a really tough period. You've not had a chance to rest players like some of the playoff teams have been able to, and I think it's probably fair to say they looked a little bit of fatigue involved last Saturday. Are they bearing up pretty well?
Yeah, we haven't done much this week until today as far as sort of physical exertion. We've done a lot of recovery and getting the boys moving and feeling good. We had a good session out there. There's good energy and a lot of noise, a lot of chat. I actually thought in the game on the weekend, I'm not sure, maybe it was physical fatigue that was causing, decision making or possession errors, but we finished the game full of running again. So I actually wasn't too concerned in the game about our energy. It was more decision making and awareness stuff that I thought, enabled the game to be close.
Has there been any update on Jack Walker at all, with his future?
Jack's recovering from a syndesmosis operation that he had a couple of weeks ago, injured playing at Hull. So he's also had a new baby, or had a baby recently, his first baby. So he's been on sort of recovery and dad leave for the last week or two. So I'm not sure where things are at with his rehab, but there's no other update.
It's a very quick one on Harry. Obviously, it's touch and go for this week, but I just wonder whether, in the circumstances, it might be wise in any case to, if you do win this weekend, obviously you'll be heading to Wigan or Saints next week. I mean, I imagine if Harry's nearly available this week, then he presumably would be available next week if you were still in the competition. I just wonder whether it might be sensible for you to keep him back for next week, hopefully on the assumption that, he would be able to come back with a bang at 100%, not just 75 or 80% next week.
I think on this one, I'll be guided by the experts and what their opinion on the situation is. It's an unusual situation. He's gone about a rehab in a different way under the expertise of our in-house performance team, but also we've sought some external support in this case. And it's a different type of a rehab approach, and which has led to it, accelerating at a real rapid rate. So if on some chance that he is ready, that he'll play if he's ready. If he's not ready, he won't play. And it's also one of those things that for a period of time, yet there'll be some risk. It's not, you pass a certain day and then there's no risk anymore. It's one of those things. Injuries, previous injury is the best indicator of future injury.
Absolutely. And just looking finally at the disciplinary situation. I mean, you've had a lot of trouble this year with the disciplinary situation, as have other clubs. You're by no means alone in that. And the problem seems to be that so many completely accidental incidents, glancing blows, where there's clearly no intent and no recklessness, but they all seem to be being hammered by the match review panel this year. But it's difficult to see a way out of it, isn't it? If we're saying that even a glancing head blow is going to earn a suspension, you can't really do much about it in terms of preparation. I don't think there are many of those incidents that you could have, as a coach, influenced your players in being able to avoid, I would have thought.
I'm all for player safety and taking care of our players, and the way that I coach, any player that would tell you that that is the case. I take head knocks with the most caution that I can. When players do get a head knock in my time, I always went above and beyond the duration of return to play to take care of people. So I'm all for player safety and taking care. As you said, Martin, a lot of the plays that are being charged across the league are purely accidents, and they lack force. The game is a combat sport without, a gladiatorial, is that the word? Without that element of battle in our sport, what is it? There's going to be some mistakes, accidents. But as I've stated to Paul Cullen at the match review committee, I just feel like everything errs on the side of too harsh. Not was it high or was it actually an incident? It's just all too harsh, in my opinion. And for the good of the game, we want our best players, available, unless they do something that really warrants not being available.
I just wonder whether one or two people have suggested that instead of suspending players in this sort of situation, players ought to be fined, and maybe the fines might be a bit larger than they are at the moment, and that would deter. Hold on, that would deter players, from being reckless at the very least.
Well, I don't. It's like speeding, I guess. There's a fine attached if you speed, but like some of us just can't help but go a little bit above the speed limit from time to time. Like you don't always mean to, and then you stop. You slow down. Now, if you've already driven past the camera, well, it's too late, and that's what's happened. Many times it's a very minor incident, and the penalty is harsh. That's the part that the players are, and the fans. The fans they're the ones that are also missing out. I don't see the game having a problem as far as cheap shots or people being intentionally reckless often, or even chareless. Like there's charges getting done for things that I don't believe have ever been chargeable.